feel like what was it, the hair club for men where they'd be like, I'm not only a sponsor, I'm a client. Like that's me too. So I'm not just a coach, I'm a client. And I started this journey 2 days before Thanksgiving, like any intelligent person would. And that first week, I lost a significant amount of weight, and I still enjoyed Thanksgiving. And that was a huge like, what? You didn't even know you could do that. And I was so smitten with how the nutrition part was changing me. And those of you who have followed and you're doing this Life Book Club again with us know that my big struggle was with anxiety and depression. And it's kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the weight gain or the anxiety and depression? But whichever one came first, it certainly supported the other one. And so I was spiraling to a place that was not good. And I took my health back, and here I am 5 years later, and I've kept that weight off. And I love the mindset work of this program, which is what this book is about. And when people ask me, when they say, hey, Allison, I want to lose weight, but I want to keep it off this time, is there a secret to that? And the secret sauce, if you will, is in this book. And it's just your brain. You think about it, it doesn't go in your mouth unless your brain tells your hand to pick it up and put it in there. So if we can get this straight, everything else will follow. So that's me in a nutshell. And I live in Hanover, Virginia, on a 19-acre farm, and we have baby ducklings. There you go.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Allie. Of course, my name is Kenny Moore. I have been a certified up to be a coach now. I'm in my 5th year. So Allie's got me by a year. And so this is our fourth journey through the Life Book. So, we've been around for a while. We've seen a lot of things happen, a lot of changes for the good. And the great thing is, and I will tell you this, we did not have this when Allie and I first started. We simply, we didn't even have the Life Book. So things have changed a lot. They've evolved a lot. And you guys have no clue, how blessed you are to have, this #1 community, which we had back then, but also this opportunity to really dive into the Life Book and make some changes. And got some more folks popping in, so bear with me 1 second. My story, 5 years ago, I was working 5 days a week at the YMCA, teaching spin class, 10 hours a week. I own 5 businesses. So in a landscaping business, I was working at the YMCA. I became a employee of the YMCA by default. We kept going to the class, and I'm just bullheaded enough that I didn't want to stop, but I was almost 300 pounds. I knew I needed to keep going. Our instructor, young lady, just stopped showing up, and I offered to lead the class. So about 2 weeks into it, the manager for the YMCA walks in and goes, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" We got 30 of us in here riding the bikes, and we're having a ball. And so they hired me on the spot, but I knew that something wasn't right with my nutrition. I needed to make some changes. And 72 pounds in about 5.5 months. And I've kept that off over the last 4 years. It's been a process, hadn't been perfect. But, coming off blood pressure medications and gout medications. And then for my personal situation, I started paying it forward, helping others, because I loved, teaching what we do, what I've learned, and the things that we've learned through this process. And every one of you that's in here right now, congratulations. Congratulations for showing up and being open to making some changes.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, ladies and gentlemen, has not been easy. It's been, for lack of better terms, it's been hell on earth for some of us. Whether you've been stuck in the house or you've gotten sick. I've known some folks that have had 4 bouts with COVID. I've got a friend of mine that's lost all of her hair and so forth. So, there's been a lot of stress in this world, and the stress continues. And so we all know that when the environment around you is totally chiseling away at everything that you know and you exist in, you can't help but wear some of those worries and stresses and fears, and it comes on in different times and different places. But what you're going to learn in this Life Book group is, #1, how to gain some control. How to gain control over that mindfulness, being mindful when this happens. For example, I tend to want to emotionally eat, or when this happens, I tend to suck back in my journey. The one thing I will give you a little bit of advice this evening is, every one of you here has a coach. So there are a lot of coaches in here this evening. And if you're a coach, wave your hands for us so we can see you. if you're live. But so every one of you has got a coach, and you've got layers of support. And Proverbs says, where there is no counsel, the people fail. But in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. So just keep that in mind as you go through this journey, whether you're a spiritual person or not. We're proud to have every one of you here this evening. And we're going to dig right into element number one. And so element number one in your life book. So if you've started your program, you should have received one of these in your package. If you're a brand new client and haven't received it yet, there is an e-version. Reach out to your coach about that. We can make sure you get the first two elements to start diving into it. But tonight's element one, being clear why you are here. So with each of these elements that we're going to be working through the next 26 weeks, there is a mindset, a skill set, and my favorite part is the action. Optavia is definitely an action program, because we know if you don't get into action, nothing changes, for sure. So, with element one, we're basically going to be identifying why you are here. The mindset is sharing the importance of intrinsic motivation in your life. We're going to dig into that a little bit deeper as we go through this as well. And then, of course, the action is explore in your own words why you're ready to begin now. And before I turn it over to Allie, I want to give you all a little food for thought. Think about this. When your why is bigger, the how gets so much easier. So if you haven't written down your whys yet, we're going to dive into that process here shortly. When your why is bigger, the how gets easier. And when you start thinking about why, think about this. The word why means what heals you. What heals you? W-H-Y, what heals you? So think about that as we go through this. Allie, I'll turn it over to you.
Ooh, I love that, Kenny. The other thing I always like to say when we start this is, how many people in here were surprised when they opened the life book that the first element has nothing to do with the feelings? Isn't that interesting that that's not where Dr. Anderson starts us? I think it is. And I think it's very telling to this journey because, like I was saying a minute ago, there's a lot of stuff that puts the nutrition in our body, right? And it starts with the brain wanting to do it, being excited about doing it, being committed to doing it, right? Fueling ourselves well. How many of you came into this journey telling the person you did the health assessment with, I know how to eat right. Like, I know what healthy food is, but here I am struggling, right? So that was me. So it's a big thing about your why is your why has to be something you want. So if you came to this journey with well, my spouse really is worried about me and kind of pushed me and wants me to do this, or my doctor gave me an ultimatum and said it's this or 8,000 pills, so I feel like I really need to be here, or I feel like I should do this because X, Y, and Z. Should, need, ought to, all of those words are words that mean that you don't really want it. You don't want to do it. This program is one that you have to want to do it. Your brain's not dumb. If your brain's not on board and like, yeah, we want to do this, it's going to come up with every excuse in the book, every reason. It's going to throw all of emotions and build them up in you to make you not want to do something. The whole, I should do that, but I don't feel like it. That has to change. And so that's what this element is about. It's essential to making lasting change in our behavior, is knowing our why. So I talked a little about the I should, I ought to, going to changing that inner conversation to I want to. So then it becomes like, well, what do I want? Why am I here? And there's this wonderful short little thing you can do, and it's called 7 Levels Deep. And it's a little exercise you can do, and it just keeps asking you the same question. What is your why? Why do you want to do this? And then you write something out, and then it says, well, why is that? And then you answer that, and it says, well, why is that? And you just peel back those layers until when you get to that 7th layer, you're probably going to be crying. And I know that sounds so corny, but it's true. It's true. I was like, I'm not going to cry. I'm tough. I ride motorcycles, whatever. No, I was bawling. And I needed that. I needed to cut through all the stuff that I thought I was supposed to be doing, that I should be doing, that I need to be doing. And I needed to get down to what my why was. And that is where you have to start if you want to change the trajectory of your wellness. And I mean overall wellness, not just physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. You want to change all of that. You have to know why. You have to know your why. When we look outside of ourselves, we give away our power to change. That's why we have to know that why. It has to be inside of you. It can't be because someone else is telling you you need to do it, because you give away your power to succeed when you do that. It's your intrinsic motivation, your highest stimulus for change. It drives you into action because you want it, right? And the other thing too is your brain comes in and it's not helpful. And it's going to tell you, well, I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's possible. I mean, how many diets have you done, Allison? How many times have we been down this road? Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, Ally. Like, I've tried a whole bunch of things. There's a lot more, and I just can't think of them right now. But my brain has had me start and stop and gain and lose and gain and lose and win and lose over and over and over and over again. So my brain says, I don't think you can do this. But you have to put what you think to the side, because it's about what you want. And if you really want it, you'll be able to do it. There's some great questions on page 40 right out of the gate. These sound like stupid questions, but you really need to ask yourself these questions. Do you really care about getting healthy? Do you care about it? What does it mean to you? Do you want to improve your life? That's an interesting question, isn't it? Because a lot of times we do, but maybe we're afraid because we don't know what it's going to look like not here where we've been for so long. But we have to push that aside, right? We're going to explore why you want to change and what's possible. And here's the other one. My clients always say, Allison, when am I done? And there is no finish line. There's a lot of goals along the way. There's a lot of mile markers on the trail. But this personal growth, this inside changing, discovering who you are, and it's sort of, when you're a little kid and you're learning how to read, you get the real basic books, the Dick and Jane books. And then you graduate past that. And then at some point, you're reading War and Peace. And you go, oh my gosh, you wouldn't be satisfied with those little Dick and Jane readers anymore. That's baby stuff. That's what's going to happen on your journey. You're going to become better and better and better and better. And that old stuff where you started is cool. And it's, and you can look back and be like, oh, that was, I'm proud of myself for moving past that. But you're moving on. This is a lifelong journey, and it's worth the time it's going to take. I didn't like thinking there wasn't a finish line, but there is a finish line to the weight loss part. Okay, there is a finish line to that. Otherwise, you would just keep losing weight until you died. You'd be 0 pounds. That's not going to happen. So there is a finish line to that. But the beautiful time we have in between the finish line to that part and the transitioning to this lifelong wellness journey, this book is going to equip you. So the wins you make there, they stay, and then you just keep growing. And you got to unpack, do you want that right now? I wanted it. I was tired of being in my pit of anxiety and depression. I wanted a different life for myself. And I had to get past, did I think I could do it? And I just had to go, no, I want to do it. I was 44 when I started this journey, and I felt like I was 89 million years old. And I'm like, this is not how I should be. And it's not how I want it to be. I love how Dr. A defines optimal health. He uses some big words in there, and you're kind of go, maybe your eyes cross when you read that, but basically it's to be fulfilled. It's to live a life of what matters most to you. And right now we're living lives, but there's a lot of things we're doing that are not what matters most. They're just kind of what we're doing through our autopilot. So a big part of this life book, like Kenny said, is building awareness to our autopilot and noticing, ooh, that thing that I do just without thinking about it, that's something that is not good. I want to change that. I'm going to talk to my coach. I'm going to get in this life book. On page 42, it says, are you ready? If you haven't done it, that's okay. But sometime this week, open it up to page 42 and look at any of these things on this checklist that apply to you. And then think about it. Think about some concrete reasons for why you want to change. And then think about how it feels to express that in your own words. Y'all, it was hard for me. This is not something I did, you know, this is not something I really stopped and thought about. I just kind of was going through life like, woo. So to pause and to unpack these things about myself, it took me a minute. It was hard. It didn't come easily to me. It was not something I did. So it's okay to take your time to do that. And just know that where you are right now is here. And in just even just a couple of weeks, you're going to be in a different place than where you are right now. And so that's why we can't think, oh, I can't do this, or oh, I can't do that. Maybe right this second you can't, but 2 weeks from now, I bet you can. 1 month from now, I bet you can. 3 months from now, that thing, you don't even think about doing it anymore because it's your new natural state and way of being. So just know that. It feels weird, but I promise you're going to fit into that next pair of shoes. It's coming. I know I'm at the end of this. Did I go too fast? No, I am. So this is great. My why on page 45, he says, I am changing and focused on improving my health and well-being because. This is what I want you guys to unpack this week. And I'm going to tell you something cool. So Kenny and I are on our fifth time through this book. Yeah. So our why, as we've gone on our journey, changes. So where the why was when we started this, starting the 26 elements last time, when we're back here, my why is different because my life has changed. My child is getting ready to graduate from high school, my youngest. So I'm going to be an empty nester. So now my why is changing. My role is shifting into something else. So my why is changing because I'm going to have a lot of time to myself now. So, and it's just going to be me and my husband. So I'm going to be able to, get into the why of some new things I want. This is a new chapter in my life. Maybe your chapter is that you've started a new job. Maybe a chapter is you've just had babies. Maybe a chapter is that you're retiring. We're all in these different chapters. Maybe your chapter is that you're starting this health journey to wellness because you've got some things you really want to do. Maybe you've got a son that's just starting Cub Scouts and there's all these great hikes coming up and you want to be a part of that because you used to love hiking. And right now you're like, I don't know how in the world I'm going to do that. I feel like I can't do that. So that's what unpacking this why is about getting down to where it is for you right now. And we will pop that, I'll just repeat it, that 7 layers deep video in, and it's already on the life book page, but Kenny, we'll pop it in there again under the announcement for tonight's life book. So
absolutely, guys. And just to kind of touch over what Allie's already gone over, this may seem like an elementary exercise to some of you. And don't take me wrong when I say this, whether you're watching the recording or you're watching it live, but some of us who are intellectual think that this is BS, that this is fairy dust. But I want to be totally honest. When I was presented this, when I first started, I was like, why do I need to do this? I know what I want to do. But here again, when you take your hand and you write down and you start brain dumping why you want to get healthy. For me, it was, I wanted to come off blood pressure medicine. Yeah, that's one thing. I wanted to come off my gout medication because I had gout. That was another thing. I was tired of that pain. But when I started digging a little deeper, started thinking about my daughter. And the last thing I want is for another man to raise my daughter and be in her wedding when it's time to walk her down the aisle. So that gave me some motivation. I wanted to see my son graduate from high school, which he did. And so yes, our whys changed, but that's where I started. And that's what we want you to do. So with that said, if you've not done that, if you've not sat down and really just written down 5 to 10 solid reasons, and here again, fitting into skinny jeans is great. Don't get me wrong. Yes, guys do suffer from self-confidence issues. I'm told all the time that I look great, but sometimes I still look at myself in disgust. So I want you all to know that you are not alone in that. But here again, your why's got to be deeper than just, I want to fit into those jeans. Because when you go to work tomorrow and your coworker brings in those pan of brownies that are still smoking hot and offers you one, if your why is not strong, you're going to cave because you don't have the mindset to move beyond that challenge. And, one thing that I do want to also say this evening, when it comes to whys and it comes to these things, when that why is strong enough, just like I said earlier, you can move beyond these things. May not always be easy, but we've also got a tool called Stop, Challenge, and Choose from Dr. A. So we'll make sure that is on the Optimal Awakenings, Lifebook group page as well. But sit down and this, so, if you read the book, of course, Dr. A's suggestion is 1 week per element. Of course, we're going to truncate a little bit. So we're going to be working through one element a week. I'm going to be doing recordings. We'll be putting that recordings up in the Lifebook page for you to go back and watch. But my encouragement is this: get the book when you got some quiet time this weekend or whenever. Take that 25, 30 minutes, watch this video again, but really sit down and dig into that. And here again, I'm not a teacher, but my encouragement for everybody is this: you've got a little bit of homework this next week. Come up with your why. And when I say that, write down 5 or 7 good, strong reasons. Watch that 7 layers video, 7 layers of why video, and come up with those reasons. And if you've been on this program for 5, 7 weeks, maybe you've done great, but maybe you're starting to struggle just a little bit. Maybe you don't have your whys written down. And if those whys aren't clear and in front of you daily and you read them daily, put them on your phone so that's on your home screen so that you see it. That's just a couple things that we help folks with to move through this process. Those who are brand new, if we got any brand new folks here. So there's several of you in here. So I'm looking at 3 of you right now. So you're probably asking, well, who's having some great results? So I'm looking at Tammy, and I'm looking at Tracy, and I'm looking at Christina. Those 3 ladies have lost over 340 pounds combined, over 100 pounds apiece. So congratulations for you all for being here. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry, because I've got several pages of folks to look at here. But I just wanted you to know that you're in here again, you've got this group of folks here for you. Keep coming back, y'all. And it may seem like an elementary exercise. And here again, I know the world is full of all kind of goody good on Thursday nights, whether it's the 7 o'clock news or whatever. What you're going to learn is we're going to teach you how to turn that news off. We're going to teach you how to control your environment. We're going to teach you how to, when these challenges bump up, how you move beyond them. We're going to teach you how to modify your environment at home. And we're going to have some hard conversations along the way, but it's going to be awakening for those of you who've never gone through this process. And the one thing I can promise you is this: I know Allie brought up some other plans and so forth earlier, and I'm not going to dive into those. But one thing I will tell you with Optavia is this: we pick up where everything else leaves you off. Yes, I did Nutrisystem 25 years ago. I lost 50 pounds. I hit my goal. They smacked me on the rear end and sent me home. 6 months later, I'd gained 75 pounds.
Yep.
So we do not want that for you. We are proof that this works. But what we know is when you work on your mindset, we're going to help you divorce the person that you were prior to starting this program. Allie is not the person that she was 5.5 years ago. I am definitely not the person that I was 4.5 years ago. Am I perfect? No. And I want to bring that up. Some folks feel like they have to be perfect.
Mm-mm.
Ladies and gentlemen, this journey is not perfect. And when you bump against that obstacle, trying to be perfect will do one of 2 things. It will motivate you either to do better or it will take you right back to where you started. And but if you've got these whys written down, the one thing that I will give you this evening is if you've got those whys solidly written down and you share them with your coach and you participate in this group this evening, and even celebrate others on Optimal Awakenings when they're cheer them on. You see somebody putting up a win or you see somebody struggling, support them. That's what we're here for. And when you start doing these things and taking yourself from I'm doing a diet to I'm learning how to transform my health for long-term longevity, guys, it's going to blow your mind what will happen. So hear me on that.
And I want to say something too, really quickly about this book. So, Kenny and I talked about how we were like, this book, whatever, and it took us a minute to get into it. There are things in here. So this book got me excited about reading other growth books, like in areas where I wanted to grow as a person. And the cool thing was all these other authors who are masters in their field, who are mentors in, different parts of brain health or, the habits of success or whatever, it's all in this book. So Dr. Anderson, I don't know how he did it, but he has taken the stuff from the best neurologists and he's put it in here. He's taken the habits of people who are able to, break past things where so many of us have gotten stuck before in our life because it's biological, it's deep down seated, old ways that our brain would operate 10,000 years ago. Whether it's about the response to negative things in our environment and how we handle it, all that stuff, it is in this book. And we are going to talk about how to break through those things. Now, not everybody's in the same place. Some people have broken past some of those things. Some of us, like me, were at square one, but it is covered in this book. So I love that he starts with finding your why. I think it's a beautiful platform from which to start. It's getting that brain to open up and just kind of think for a minute and get out of that autopilot setting. And week after week after week after week, we're going to talk about building that awareness and getting out of that autopilot setting, because it's that autopilot setting that has things that have been, just put into place because your brain did it for years and years. We're going to start breaking that and putting better stuff in its place. It's neuroplasticity and it works. And we're going to tap into that. And it's a lot easier than you think.
Absolutely. Next week, we're going to dive into element 2, knowing what you want to accomplish. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop